Hey guys, and welcome back to Runway from the Rav, a Project Runway podcast. My name is Riley.
And I'm Maggie.
And today we'll be discussing Season 16, Episode 12. There's snow business, like so business.
It's just, yeah, they're trying. They're trying.
Well, you know, most of their titles are puns, and I appreciate them. This one's a double whammy.
Yeah.
And, they're really stretching the snow idea. And as is Project Runway fashion, we have a kind of unique runway this episode. So the challenge is they need to create a high fashion winter look. That's it. Like, that's the prompt. High fashion winter look. No advertiser this time.
No, that's true.
So that was kind of nice.
They had one plug, though.
For the steamers and the
Yes.
irons? Yes. Like every other episode, they're like, and don't forget to use those irons in the Brothers Sewing Room. But there wasn't like an actual like advertiser or anything this time. So that was nice. So we didn't have like a ham-fisted like, make sure you buy North Face jackets for your winter challenge or I don't even know, like those pocket warmers or something like that. So that was a little nice breath of fresh air to just have a challenge. And it was a 2-day challenge as well. And then they also got $400 at Mood, which I think is the highest this season. Yeah. So 2-day challenge. Winter wear isn't super exciting, but high fashion winter wear can be fun. And you can push it. And then the runway, we saw Tim and Heidi walk out and like fake snow was falling. And Heidi was like, catch it on your tongue. It's delicious. And Tim was like, I don't think I want to.
I didn't know it was edible.
I don't know what it was. But I think Tim accidentally like got some in his mouth and he's like, ugh. And then on Twitter, Tim said that his suit was so covered in snow that when he got home, he had to disrobe in the bathtub so that he didn't get snow all over. So that's fun. That, a little trivia nugget for you. Yeah. So, then like, I guess they did have a bit of an advertiser, but they went to a bar in New York City called the -5. I'm going to assume they mean -5 degrees Fahrenheit, which is extremely cold. If it's -5 Celsius, that's still cold, but it's like 20 something Fahrenheit, so it's not as cold. So I don't know. They didn't specify the degrees.
Yeah.
But either way, it's cold, and they had to sit in there for 30 minutes to sketch. So I guess that's kind of, but they didn't necessarily have to make, like, because it was all filled with like ice sculptures and ice carved furniture. And they had to put on like big parkas and like hats and gloves and sketch in there with their friction pens. And because it's so cold, I wonder if they had a hard time erasing because friction pen is like heat. And I've done a little research on these friction pens. The official pen, Project Runway, don't forget. And apparently when you erase, you can also use like a blow dryer or anything hot and it will disappear. But if you take something you've erased and put it in like your freezer for a while and pull it out, it's back. Like your drawing's back.
Wow.
So I just wonder in this like -5 ice bar, did they struggle to erase because they couldn't get it hot enough and because the cold would make it reappear? I don't know. No one mentioned it. I've never seen an ice bar, but of course New York has, a bar with ice. So I guess it's kind of an advertiser, but it doesn't seem as sponsored as like the Lexus one or a Mary Kay one or one where they watch like a kid's movie. Like it's kind of a fun, kooky place in New York. It fits the challenge. The designers, especially Margarita, she's like, I'm from Puerto Rico. Like in winter, it's 90 degrees out. She's apparently never seen winter or a coat or anything like that. So, but she's in New York now. So maybe if she's there long enough, she'll get some harsh winters. They get some intense snow, intense cold, but otherwise, they all seem to kind of have fun in there. What did you think of that challenge? Like the Winter Wonderland high fashion winter look.
I thought it was kind of cool. Like I don't remember them doing winter looks in the past, really. I mean, at least not to this degree.
Off the top of my head, I don't remember like a full winter look. I know they've had to do like fall fashion. And I know for like Heidi Klum's line, they've had to do like swimwear, sleepwear, stuff like that. So I know people have made some winter weary looks. Like I think last season Dexter made something that we called like the winter yeti or something like that. So there's been some winter wear looks or like all the big jackets from last season, but this time, yeah. So I always like the fun runways. I think gently falling fake snow with like fake icicles in the background isn't super exciting. Yeah. I would have preferred, if they like strapped some ice skates on the models and made them like ice skating, but then I guess it would have been an ice skating challenge, which I think they've done.
Or they could have made it more realistic. Like just have gusts of wind blowing in their face.
Yeah. Tiny shards of ice in your lungs. And if any of them wear glasses, which none of them do, just have those fog up. And I think in the ice bar, Kenya's were fogging up. And as someone who wears glasses with metal frames, I'm not a hipster, I don't wear the plastic frame glasses. They're metal frames. They fog up immediately in the winter when I go outside and when I go inside. Nothing's cooler than like slowly defrosting as you walk to your desk, passing like your boss. Hi, good morning. Can't see you. Steamy in here. Feels good. Feels real good. All right, so we'll move on to Mood.
Yeah.
And they had 30 minutes in Mood, which is pretty normal. We got to see a little swatch. Which this could be the last time this season because now, after this episode, we're going on to the finale episodes. So, unless someone goes to Mood or they have a last-minute challenge that brings them back to Mood, normally they say, like, bye, Swatch, or thanks, Mood. No, Swatch was getting some pets, and then they had a big drama moment we'll get to in a second here at Mood, and then we're gone. Bye, Mood. So I'm guessing we're going to come back, because that doesn't seem like much to say. So people are running around, they're trying to get winter wear. No one really went for some of the classic winter wear things that I would have assumed. Kenya, like Kenya always is like, oh, I want blank, and then the second she gets in Mood, she sees something else. Like last week, she's like, I want red, but this blue's calling to me, or something. So this week she went for a orange, black, and like red plaid, like thick wool fabric. It looks almost identical to a couch that I'm sure most people's parents had in the basement, like in the 80s. I know my parents had one just slightly more brown, and we had that for years. So like a couch fabric. Brandon had a recommendation for one of the Mood folks to get some like waxed cotton, so it's kind of like a canvas. Margarita was immediately like, oh, it's cold, I want fur. Apparently Project Runway, and I didn't know this either.
No.
So she can't afford much fur because obviously real fur is very expensive, and they had $400, but when you need quite a bit of fabric to make a couple looks, because it's winter wear, you need like a under like thing and then a coat or something to top it, so you need a lot of fabric. So she was going to get rabbit, and she picked like 4 or 5, it looked like pelts of like black rabbit fur that were $45, apparently. I didn't know how much rabbit fur went for on the New York market, but that's the price on their hides, I guess. So she is checking out, and Tim's like, whose fur is this? Is this real fur? Whose is this? And Margarita's just like looking around, then finally she's like, it's mine. And he's like, we're a cruelty-free show, you can't use fur. And I was like, that's good. And then I had to stop and be like, but wait, they can use leather. So I understand that leather largely comes from cows and pigs, which are slaughtered anyway for food. And as someone who eats meat, sorry everyone, I'd rather the leather be used, I guess, than wasted.
Yeah.
And the animal used for more than just its meat. But it just seems odd to draw the cruelty line at real fur. So obviously Mood has fake fur as well, faux fur. But it just seemed odd that because he didn't say we're fur-free. He said we're cruelty-free. And one, it seems odd that she wasn't aware of that rule. And if it was written down somewhere, it seems odd that they did not reiterate that upon the winter wear challenge. Because fur is a pretty big deal in, like, winter fashion, whether it's real or not. Like, I'm thinking lined hoods, like the inside of, like, muffs and cuffs on jackets. So you'd think they would have reiterated, like, hey, no fur. But you can really use real leather. Like last season, like Laurence used leather. Like there's been a ton of people, or like Stella, if you remember Stella from her season, or All Stars. Yep. Stella loved the leather. So, and I'm fine with using leather. Like I don't like fur either, but it just seems odd to say cruelty free. And then I looked it up just because I'm a makeup person. Avon is not cruelty free. So if you're gonna say cruelty free, Avon tests on animals. That's cruel. Leather's technically cruel, so it just, he should have said fur free, or they should have made him re-say it.
Snap.
fur-free is an accurate statement. Cruelty-free, Project Runway, not an accurate statement by using other materials. So I'm not saying my opinion either way. I don't like fur, I'll say that. But so Margarita ended up losing out on about like $70 or $80, so she must have bought like 2 pelts. And so they took the pelts back. She like returned them, and she's like, well, that's like $70, $80 of mine. And Tim was like, designers, can Margarita have 5 minutes to go get a replacement for that $70 to $80? And everybody was like, yep, that's fine. I'm of the opinion that everybody should get that extra time. So I think it was last All-Stars, Char got 10 extra minutes to sew in a zipper. And they all had to vote on that as well and say, yep, that's fine. I just feel like then they should all get an extra 10 minutes to do, whether it's lint rolling or steaming or adding their own zipper or something extra. And I get that at Mood, they probably spent all their money. They probably got like $5. But, you know, it just seems like, okay, we've all agreed to have an extra 5 minutes instead of just watch Margarita run around being like, yep, fake fur. Yep, I can afford it. Run.
Yeah.
But everybody seemed fine with it because there's only 5 of them now. Since the twins have left, this has been largely a drama-free show. Really the only drama left is just Margarita crying. Margarita almost going home. Margarita, I don't know. Do you have anything else about Mood?
I will say on that, like, I wish that he had said something before she bought it, though.
Yeah.
Like, I mean, like you said, like, it should have been reiterated. Like, before, when they were introducing the challenge.
Right.
Before they even got to Mood. You know, so that way they knew, like, if they were gonna do fur, that they already had the direction for it.
Right. They should have said it on the runway when Heidi and Tim were on the runway giving the challenge. They should have, and then they could have said it in a positive way about Project Runway, that it is great that they don't want people using real fur. Because most animals killed for fur, we don't use their meat or anything else. Like for leather, it's from cows. We eat cows in this country anyway. And so, but when you kill a rabbit, most people don't eat rabbit. Or like a tiger or something. Like I doubt Mood stocks any like endangered animal pelts, but still, it's like it's different. We don't eat, you know, minks or whatever else. So I think it would have been better for Heidi and Tim to stay on the runway. And just as a reminder, we're a fur-free thing, so no fur. And then Margarita would have known before she even sketched out. So it seems like, yeah, she missed a rule, and I'm sure it's written down, just like Claire knew not to bring measuring tape back. But. And not aligning that, I don't think Marguerite was trying to cheat. I think she just didn't know and was like, yeah, I want fur. And then,
yeah.
So, yeah, I think that could have been handled a little better, for sure. Otherwise, workroom?
Yeah.
Okay, so obviously Margarita struggled and had to kind of start over from a design perspective. And she bought like some yellow and some other fabrics, and then she ended up having to start over again later on, but we'll get to that. Kenya was stressing because she hasn't had a win yet. And last episode, she got pretty close to the win for the like Women Warrior Challenge, but unfortunately Brandon won. So she's just like, give me a win, like give me something. So she was stressing and then became like kind of doubting herself a little. So she was struggling. Ayana was not struggling. She pretty much knew exactly what she wanted to make. But when Tim came around for the reviews, he was like, I think you're doing too much. She wanted to do this like double patterned or double colored, like color black coat, I should say. They're coats because it's winter, of like a pink top, cut it a diagonal, and then like a black bottom, and then she wanted to like cover it in paint, and Tim was just like, I don't know that I like that. So he made her like right there be like, show me your paint application, and then he liked it.
Yeah.
Like Jackson Pollock. But Ayana, I think a few times this season has done a little too much. Like she gets very themey with her accessories. Like the hard hat a couple episodes ago or things like that. This time she used a hat again. Margarita, then when Tim came around, he did not like the dress that she had made in this like yellow kind of chartreuse fabric, so she had to restart again. And it's a 2-day challenge, but she's like, I basically wasted a whole day, you know, and probably a couple hours of the second day before Tim came around. So she was really struggling. A lot of her talking heads, she was crying. She was already struggling with the challenge because she's from Puerto Rico and it's a nice tropical, warm, hot climate, and so she is not as used to having to buy or wear winter fashion year after year to know, like, yep, that actually keeps you warm, or no, it doesn't. So I'm sure she has seen a coat I'm sure she has seen a sweater. I don't know that she's probably ever worked with fur, though.
Yeah.
Faux or real. And she worked with like a fake leather last time, I think, for her little bustier kind of corset thing. But, you know, as a designer, you know, sometimes you have to design outside of your comfort zone.
Yeah.
But I think we heard that she was from Puerto Rico and didn't know what cold was about 18 times.
Yeah.
And then she started crying when she's like, I have to remake it again. So I get it's stressful, and you're right at the end. And she kept saying, I quoted it last week where she's like, to get this far and die. She said it again. She's like, if I get this far again, and it's not one of my quotes of the week, but she's like, to get this far and not go to New York Fashion Week, it's a waste. Which one? It's like, well, no, you made it this far. People have seen you.
Mm-hmm.
There's been plenty of people who didn't win Project Runway or who didn't go to Fashion Week and have successful design careers. And you could always come back for All Stars or something. So it's like, okay, let's calm down. But then, yeah, she's like, to die.
Mm-hmm.
A little over dramatic. Then when Margarita, her model this week was Lyris, who we love. When her fitting came around, wow, that was awkward. I believe Margarita's worked with Lyris before, and it was just kind of awkward because she didn't have a lot of pieces ready, so Lyris was just kind of like, okay, and then obviously Lyris personally didn't like the outfit, which you can't blame them. Mm-hmm. That's what the model mirror is for them to talk, you know, give a little insight about the designer and the look. Sometimes it's relevant, sometimes, you know, who cares? Yeah. But she was like, yeah, they're like, so Lyris, what do you think about the garment? And she just was like, crickets. She's like, So that's great. And then Margarita's like putting it on her, and she's like, I can't see your face. Do you love it? And Lyris's face is just like, no. And I know some of that's editing. I know that the show, like, you know, is going to edit it together to tell the story they want, but it was just like, wowzer. At one point, Brandon took a nap, and that's our first nap this season. So it reminded me of a few seasons ago where, like, Swapnil would always step out to, like, have a cigarette or whatever because he was so over it. And, like, he was like, oh, I'm way better than all these folks. And he was. He just needed to apply himself. He could have won. Yeah. But he really shot himself in the foot and got kicked out. Or, like, last season, I think it was Aaron and Dexter a couple times were like, I want to eat candy. Let's take a nap. Rick took a nap once. So, but this was just our first nap, which I just see as kind of a rude move. But, you know, I guess if it's your break time and you don't want to eat, take a nap. But it just seems though like, I'm so done and over this competition. I'm gonna just...
This was definitely his, like, I don't know. He's getting cocky.
Yeah.
About it. Like, I just felt like he had... Each episode, he's gotten, like, progressively more confident in his, like, in himself. And he knows that he's the judge's favorite. Yeah. So he's just, like, more and more attitude each episode.
I remember, like, in, like, episode 1 or 2, like, when, I think 2, when he won, they were like, you can be happy, you can smile. He was, like, so reserved. But I don't know if it's because he was a menswear designer or if it's just his personality. But, yeah, the last few episodes, or if it's just the edit. Yeah. But he seems way more confident and, yeah, cocky, like, overconfident. Mm-hmm. Obviously, the judges are eating it up. What he's putting down the runway. But, yeah, he seems just... And then the nap, to me, is just always, like... Because, like, Keeney would sew really fast, and sometimes he would sit around, but often, frequently, he'd help other people, too. Or, like, Rick took a nap, but he didn't, like, do it in front of everybody else talking about stuff. Like, Brandon, literally, everyone who was talking, he just got up and laid down on the sofa, and it's like, So, the nap, to me, is just always like, really? And then, right at the last minute, they've got, like, a minute left, and then they're all going to go down to the runway, and Tim's like, okay, everybody, Kenya's snapping on Jasmine's pants, and she sewed the snaps on backwards, which seems like an un-Kenya thing to do because she's so meticulous and detailed. But, you know, when you're frantic and you're in a hurry and you're stressed, those are the little things that happen. So she's, like, ripping out all the stitches and then hand sewing the snaps back on, and Tim's like, we gotta go. She did not need an extension of time, though. She was able to get it done. Do you have anything else from the workroom?
I don't think so. Because, yeah, we already mentioned the little plug for the steamers and the iron.
Yes. At the last minute, Tim's always like, you know, send them to the Avon, makeup and hair, like, use the JCPenney accessory wall, and don't forget those great steamers and irons.
Which, have they ever mentioned them before?
They mentioned them at least one other episode because it felt just as weird. Okay. Because, like, we see them steam and iron all the time. They're literally working with fabric and... going to a runway. It's like saying something about, like, the Brothers Sewing Studio. Just like, Yeah, they're gonna sew, but, the show's gotta get their plugs where they can, otherwise they'd be off air, and then what will we talk about?
Yeah. Tim also said he phrased it differently, too, talking about the JCPenney wall.
He did.
But I don't remember what he said. Is that one of your quotes?
No.
Oh.
But he did. He didn't say very thoughtfully. He said, in a way that integrates with your design, or something a little more involved, and I was like, nice job, Tim.
I read into it in a weird way. I was just like, what does that mean? I can't use it thoughtfully this week?
Thoughtfully.
I don't know. But no, I had nothing else.
Okay, so then we'll move on to the runway.
Mm-hmm.
So this was a winter wonderland runway that was snowy, and they put something down on the runway because it wasn't black like normal. It was shiny and kind of blue, kind of icy. Mm-hmm. And then behind the judges, there was icicles and stuff, and then they had snowflakes and things. So they really, played it up like a middle school dance, winter wonderland. And Heidi said it 3 or 4 times. And it's okay, yeah. We get it.
It was meant to be the pretty side of winter.
Yes.
Not the realistic
Yes.
side.
We live in Iowa in the Midwest, and we get some nasty winters sometimes. And yeah, snow looks pretty until you got to go drive in it or try to move it out of where it has landed. And then it's wow, snow. And the day after snow, it's yellow in patches, obviously, for good reason. There's gravel stuck. It's gray and dirty. Snow's only pretty in Christmas cards and the very first hour it snows, and then after that it's just gray and dingy, covered in dirt and dust, and it's thanks, nature.
And ice is deceiving.
Yeah, black ice.
See.
And, yeah. And icicle's deadly, potentially.
Yeah. Honestly, yeah. So much potential for this runway.
But this one's a wonderland.
Okay.
Our guest judge this week was Katie Holmes. Yeah. So another actress, but at least one who most people probably have heard of.
Yeah.
And she had more insightful things to say than our last few, so at least there's that. Mm-hmm. So the runway, first up, we had Brandon, and his model was Christina, and he put down crop top. Oh, now, audience, I know you're thinking it's a winter look, high fashion winter look. Surely no crop top this week. No, you'd be wrong. Brandon says, -5 degrees out, time for a crop top.
They are always in season in Brandon's world.
He must just either love belly buttons or just not know how to, hem the bottom of a shirt.
He doesn't know how to hem the bottom of the shirt.
Well, that's clear.
Spoiler alert!
Everything's just random angles and everything. He also this week, before I get to the actual garment, he made a bag, and this is the first time he's made an accessory. Mm-hmm. Turns out the judges didn't like it, but he did make a bag. And he also made a hat instead of a hoodie. But in his critique with Tim, he mentioned he wanted to make a hoodie too. And I'm like, of all the challenges to make a hoodie, the winter one probably makes the most sense.
Yeah.
Why not one more crop top hoodie for the collection, But what he ended up putting down, again, his model's Christina, who has a really fun personality, is this cream colored turtleneck crop top. That's right, turtleneck crop top with multiple panels and then straps. It's got straps too, not as many. And then leggings, also in a cream color, with a muff, for your little cold hands, sewn to the hem of her pants. Because you really want that right there over, yep. And then there's multiple panels. It's hard to tell if it's layers on the coat or layers on her piece because he tends to do so many kind of pieces. Mm-hmm. And then he has this really dark kind of hunter foresty green, and it's that waxed cotton kind of canvas. And he's made a jacket out of that. Pretty long jacket, not without much collar. And then it's got these big toggle kind of fastens down the side, or the front, I'm sorry. The back has a little panel hemmed with cream, and then it's got some straps. And then she's wearing a little beanie, a white cream beanie that I believe he made, or he took it from the JCPenney style wall and cut a hole in it, because her natural hair is in a bun and it pops off the top. Mm-hmm. Like a little, kind of like a little cupcake. And then she's wearing, and I'll mention this just because the judges do, very minimal sandal high heel with toes and entire foot just out there. What do we think of Brandon's?
It was alright. I mean, It's very his style. I just, yeah, as you've mentioned, the crop top. Like, what the heck? I'm sorry, but I can't buy that. A crop top in winter, that's just not realistic.
Well, and he's already made so many crop tops, and no one seems to care or point it out from the judge's side that it's just like, how did he get away with this many crop top pieces? But then you're like, Kentaro, you made one look with black, so now never again. And it's just like,
they're always like, Kentaro, how dare you? How dare you think of using black?
So unfair.
And then Brandon crop top, like 80-90%.
Crop top and straps.
But they love it.
They love it.
I mean, I gotta say, I do kind of like the vibe that Brandon puts out, though. Like, I like the attitude. Maybe a lot of that is from the model. I don't know.
Christina really rocks it.
But it's like, the looks do look cool when they walk, I think. But I don't know. I liked his color palette. He did have some, like, texture in there this time, which I thought that was kind of interesting, too. And, like, I don't know what it was. If it was just on the lining of the jacket or if he had it on some of, like, those inside pieces, too. Because it's that cream color, like, that I'm talking about. But, I don't know. And then, yeah, the shoes. It was just like, sorry, bro. That's not gonna work in the winter.
No. Well, and it's hard to say, is it like the JCPenney wall doesn't have a lot of options and he wanted to keep a neutral shoe? Or did he just truly last minute be like, shoes, I don't know.
Yeah.
But it was a miss, yeah.
Yeah, but, I mean, going back to earlier challenges, like you said, they didn't even have slippers for the
I will never forget. I will never forgive.
So maybe, yeah, you're right. Maybe it's more just lack of options that are available to them.
Yeah. I mean, I will say this. I don't think a single one of these models was wearing snow boots.
No.
I don't think a single one of them was actually wearing legitimate boots. So maybe the JCPenney, like Kentaro had to make some. We'll get to that. But like, so maybe they just had very minimal options. But you think JCPenney would have come in and been like, hey, here's our winter line. I don't know. Seemed like a miss.
I don't know. What do you think of this?
I actually liked this more than Brandon's things normally. Aside from the crop top, I like the color story here quite a bit. I think I like that dark green. It seems warm and cozy. I'm a little over all these weird panels and straps, but it looks like cool streetwear. Yeah. Like you'd see someone cool walking, not where we live, but in New York or someplace, or like, I don't know. Someplace that's cold, but it's cool in another non-cold way, the other meaning of cool, and they're just like walking down looking cool in the cool. Can I say cool again? No.
Yeah.
So all of them were chosen for critique, but Brandon was in the top, of course. Next up we had Margarita, and she had Lyris as her model, like I said. And what she ended up putting down was a camel-colored, like, wrap overcoat, like trench coat style, with a tie. And then it was lined with, like, this baby blue, light blue fabric. And then underneath that is, like, a halter dress made out of, like, this grayish faux fur that looks a little like a chinchilla. Fake fur that has a real high neck. So there's a lot of fur up around her face, but then it's like a sleeveless. And then it bunches in the middle with a belt. It's just past knee length and pretty like tight fitting for fur. And she lined that with fuchsia, like a bright pink fabric. And then the way it was sewn up in the back, you could see bits of that pink poking through, which then looks reminiscent. When you have gaps of fabric that's pink inside. Not the best. But what did you think of Margaritas?
Oh my god, I didn't even think of that.
Oh, I couldn't think of anything else.
Oh my gosh. Yeah, well, why did she use that? Was it just all she had?
I think she needed to line it, and she used the yellow to make a dress she ended up scrapping.
Okay.
So I'm assuming all she had left was pink, or maybe she thought it'd be a fun pop.
Okay.
I don't know.
If it was intentional, I don't like it. But if that was all she had, I guess I'll allow it. I understand.
Yeah.
But I don't know. I thought, like, this was an interesting look. I wasn't sure how the fur dress was gonna, like, come out. It does look, like, thick because it is, it's faux fur. But, Like, obviously, it's a thicker fabric than cotton or anything. But I don't know. It was just okay to me. I really liked the coat. I thought the wrap coat looked really good on the model. And I saw the light blue in the workroom, but then I kind of forgot about it. And so that was kind of cool, like, to have the reveal of when she opened the coat. I like the blue lining. That read, like, very wintry to me. Like, to me, Margarita's read very winter. Like, I don't know. What do you think? Oh, here we go.
I want to like the idea of like a camel overcoat, but to me this looks like a robe. It looks like a bathrobe. It's a beautiful bathrobe on a beautiful model, but I like the peak of color, but the fabric, the material, at least the way it looks to me, does not look like a winter fabric that would hold up to being in the snow or like sleet. It looks like it would be dingy in a heartbeat. And just the way it wrapped around with the little tie looks like a robe. And then the underside, granted it was just Halloween this past weekend, but it to me looks like something from the Flintstones, like a caveman costume. Cavewoman costume. It looks atrocious to me.
The dress?
Yes, I hate it.
Oh my god, this is so passionate.
I love Lyris, and this is the most lumpy, unshapely items anyone has put her down in so far. The way it's so forced up to her neck. I get that it's a surprise that when she takes the coat off, it wasn't the coat that had the fur, it's this entire dress. It looks uncomfortable, it looks lumpy, bumpy, it looks like she killed some poor, like, mammoth and wrapped her body in it and went to, like, the caveman competition. I don't like it. She looks 8 times bigger than she is, and she's not very big. I know she's plus size, but plus size models are still statuesque and tall and shapely. And yeah, then from the behind, that jacket just looks even more like a robe. I don't like it. But she's in the top.
I will say, I agree with you on the neck. I did not like the fur, like, just
that had to be
choking
so
her, like, oh! Yeah. I did not like that part.
No, it's terrible. Next up we had Ayana, and her model was Sanita. And she put down this black overcoat, and it had a pink, like I said, diagonal pink top, and then she splattered that with, like, black paint. And then the coat was actually a convertible jacket, so you zipped off the bottom, like, trench coat part, and then it became, like, a little cropped jacket. And underneath that, she had this, like, black and white kind of not plaid, but, like, checkered jumpsuit that was kind of billowy. It was modest. Obviously went high up on the neck, all the way down. It had, like, little hand covers and all the way down the leg. But it was, like, billowy at the leg and in the middle. It had, like, some interesting details and some, well, a term I'll get to in a second. And then, to top it all off, she had, like, a black fedora. She made a top hat originally, but she didn't like it, so this fedora must have come from the JCPenney style wall. What did we think of Ayana's?
I personally did not like this at all. This is, like, one of my least favorite things that she's made. I didn't understand, like, the underpiece at all. Like, that didn't read winter. It looked actually, like, kind of thin to me. Mm-hmm. And, like, it was just bizarre. Like, was it a one piece or was it actually two?
I think it was a jumpsuit.
Okay. It was weird, in my opinion. Like, I did not like it. It reminded me of, like, a clown or, like, a jester or something. Like, not my favorite. And then I did not like the pink that she chose. Like, I felt like, I don't know. It's not that great of a detail to just make this, like, color block, like, diagonal. Like,
yeah. And it's like a Pepto pink.
Yeah, it is. Like, it doesn't feel very wintry to me at all. And it's just, like, I just feel like, what's the point? You know? I mean, I guess it's, without the pop of color, it's just a black coat. Mm-hmm. But you can still make an awesome black coat, like, without Pepto-Bismol pink and paint splatters. I think the paint splatters probably helped it, but maybe not. I don't know. I didn't like this. What do you think?
I hate to do this to this model. But I think Ayana said that her idea for this look was that it was like a, criminal, not a criminal, but like a henchman or something.
Oh, she said outlaw.
Yeah, like an outlaw, and that's where the fedora's coming in. But after she said that, poor Sunita, who I already think looks like Cruella de Vil at times this season. Again, yeah, she just looks like a bad guy. And then she's got this tight, like, bun at the nape of her neck. She's got this, like, kind of cocked fedora. She's wearing this black overcoat. And then underneath, she's got, like, these black and white Dalmatian reminiscent jumpsuit with poopy pants. I don't understand the jumpsuit. I don't know. It's got full sleeves. That's all I can say for a winter wear look. But, like, jumpsuits are so impractical. And then it's poopy pants, as Michael Kors would say. Extremely. Fedoras are not elevated or high fashion. So chuck that out. And then the coat, I don't like the pink color. I think it would have been more successful if that color was maybe that kind of icy blue that Margarita used for the lining of her jacket. I think it would be cool if it was a camel color. Or white. Yeah. I think it would be cool with a black and white kind of graphic. Or have that pink someplace else, like in the stitching or somewhere. It just seems kind of weird. And then when you unzip it, because Ayana's always doing extra.
I forgot about that.
Yeah, it's also a convertible. So then when you unzip it, I like it better as a cropped jacket because then the pink and the black are more equal. But then I don't like the idea of a cropped jacket with this weird jumpsuit.
No.
And the judges weren't 100% on this either. I believe that Heidi and Nina liked the jacket, but no one really liked the jumpsuit. So she was kind of more in the bottom. And then next up we had Kenya, and she put down a kind of pea coat made out of that orange, black, and yellow, or not yellow, cream colored, I don't even know, plaid. It's got big oversized pockets, big oversized lapel, a tie across the front. Her motto was Jasmine. And then underneath the coat, she had this white and black spotted, like kind of billowy blouse. And then over top of that, she had very, very high-waisted black cropped pants that cropped right above the ankle. And were kind of like, they had an interesting, I don't know, like tucking or ruching around like the leg and like the hip area. I don't know how to describe it. And then the blouse was full sleeved underneath. What did we think of Kenya's?
Not my favorite. Kenya's kind of been slipping for me. I really like the coat. Except for I felt like that pattern was much more autumn. But I mean, whatever. It works for winter too. Like, it's wool. So, that's an appropriate fabric. But, I don't know. I guess the reason I didn't really like this was because I didn't like what she did underneath the coat. Like, I don't know. It was just like weird business wear.
Kind of Kenya's go-to, though.
It is, and that's what I'm saying, is like, she's kind of become one note to me.
Well, there's no peplum here.
There isn't.
Her old note has just slowly shifted.
But somehow, maybe it's because she, like, chose polka dots again, or... I don't know. It just, like, yeah, I feel like she's already done this look. Like, it's kind of like that original Cruella de Vil one.
Yeah, what's underneath the coat, definitely.
But...
just on a different size model.
I don't know. I mean, like, this wasn't a bad look. It just didn't, like, wow me. What do you think?
I like the idea of a wool peacoat. I think the peacoat itself is really well tailored. I just don't like the pattern.
Yeah.
I think that would have been way more successful if it was like a more traditional like navy and green plaid, or like a cool like red and navy plaid, or even just a nice black trench coat, or something like a bold berry color, or something that kind of borders more fall to winter. Because to me, this just looks like 70s fall.
Yeah.
70s couch. Those colors to me, like orange, brown, they're just not super now colors. But the coat itself, the detailing is very nice and fits Jasmine well. What she's wearing underneath, yeah, it's boring. It doesn't elevate it, and she clashes her patterns quite frequently, Kenya does, and the black and white polka dot with the really loud, heavy plaid wool coat pattern just don't go. And to me, like, I wear my coat outside and no one can see my outfit except for, like, my pants or, like, whatever's underneath the coat at the bottom. And then when I get inside, I take the coat off.
Yeah.
So to me, it doesn't matter that they clash quite as much because, like, in reality, you're never going to see me wear your coat open, generally. But for a runway, it's all one piece. So you have to view it all as one piece. And there, it kind of failed. And she was kind of in the bottom this time.
Yeah.
Because the judges felt the same way. They liked the coat, but they didn't love it. And then underneath, they were really bothered about, like, how short Jasmine's torso became and things like that. And last up, we had Kentaro. And his model was Misha. And he said it. He was like, she's my favorite model. Because she speaks Japanese. And he said that they can talk behind other people's back and Spanish and no one will know.
Well, Japanese. But were you referencing?
Well, I was going to. Did I mess it up?
Sorry.
I said Spanish.
Said Spanish.
Yeah. So they could speak Japanese behind other people's back. Oh, I ruined my joke. Which is ironic because obviously Margarita and Michael did that only in Spanish. Sorry guys, I ruined it. Anyway, to the fashion here. Misha is wearing a dream in cream. He said he wanted it to look like whipped cream and that he was very inspired by Misha, who was such a fun model. And she rocks anything. So, what this is it's a pair of cream shorts. And before you're like, wait, if you're mad about a crop top, you need to be mad about the shorts. I am, but he saved it slightly by making these leg warmers, which is a Kentaro kind of thing, over some like knee-high boots, or he made them look like knee-high boots, so then she's only showing like a couple inches of skin, which to me then is no different. People still wear skirts in the winter all the time. They'll wear like knee-length skirts with like calf or knee-high boots, so they show a couple inches of skin, maybe with like tights or pantyhose on, but like, so to me it doesn't matter as much as the crop top because you're showing like an inch of leg, and leg skin compared to tummy skin and sensitivity, I don't know. Anyway, so it's these cream colored shorts that are like longer in the front, shorter in the back, and then the top is like this wrap jacket with like a scarf that wraps around as well, and then when you take that off, it's like a sleeveless little cream top that has some interesting kind of ruching and layers to it. And then he put it with like gray little leg warmers. What did we think of Kentaro's?
I really liked it, except for the shorts. I just didn't like the shorts. Like, from the front, to me, they look like, I don't know, old man golf shorts.
They look to me like AC/DC when they dress up as schoolboys.
Like, yeah, because they kind of like flare out a little bit. It's kind of a weird shape. And then the fact that it's got like a slit and then it's like different lengths in like the front versus the back. Like, that's kind of strange. Like, if you're looking at this practically, like, obviously you wouldn't wear shorts in the winter. But if you were gonna, you probably want them longer in the back if you have to sit on a cold bench or something.
True.
You know? Like,
True, yeah.
But that would look strange. So, I think it looks a little strange anyways. But, I don't know.
It's like a reverse high-low short. Brand new. Never before seen.
It's kind of strange. But that's key. Never before seen. How many crop tops have we seen? So many!
So many. I have never seen a reverse high-low short. I didn't want to, but now I have seen it.
But honestly, that was like the only part I didn't like. I really love the top. It was a dream! And then I liked how he handled like the shoes and like made like the leg warmer type thing.
Well, he brought the shoe into the look, whereas I feel like most of the other designers just picked a shoe that was like closed-toed except for Brandon and were like, here we go. Like, Kentaro really thought of it as more of a practical statement.
Right.
You know, probably knowing that he had to kind of save the shorts. I like this. I am not a fan of the shorts either, but like I said, I'll forgive it just because I know a lot of people who wear skirts in winter. I never wear skirts ever. So when people wear skirts in the winter, sometimes I'm like, but why though? But I know most of us are not tromping around outside for hours and hours in our winter shorts or our winter skirts. You know, you wear them from your car to a building, either to work or home or a restaurant or wherever you're going. So I don't mind it. I like the top. I think he is lucky he got Misha. I think with how it wraps and how like kind of heavy it is, if he had a bigger model or just a bustier model, I could see this looking weird and kind of misshapen. But on Misha, it looks kind of cool and purposeful. Like she just took a gigantic thing and just wrapped it all up and made it look kind of effortless and flawless. So I like that. And I like cream in wintertime. It feels luxe. It feels kind of posh and like, you know, ooh, I wear white in the winter, I wear cream in the winter, just feels kind of rich, like a rich whipping cream, which is what he's going for. And he was in the top. So before the judging started, or I'm sorry, before they declared the winner or whatever, Heidi asked each designer in turn, why should you go to Fashion Week and which 2 designers should come with you? Which is one of those questions Project Runway loves to ask that is so awkward. I would feel up there to have to just, because you're throwing a few people under the bus. It's the same thing they do on team challenges, like who should win, or like if they get to go home, or if someone goes home, then it's like, who should go home? And everybody's like, oh, not me.
Yeah.
So they asked Kentaro first, and he said, I didn't write down why they all wanted to go. Obviously, everybody wants to go to New York Fashion Week.
Yeah.
They've made a lot of sacrifices in their lives. They have a big dream. But I did write down who they all said. So Kentaro said his brother Brandon and Ayana. Brandon said his brother Kentaro and Ayana. Kenya said Brandon and Ayana. Margarita said Brandon and Kentaro, and then Ayana said Kenya and Brandon. So literally everybody said Brandon.
Yeah.
And most people said Ayana except for Margarita. And then Ayana said Kenya instead of Kentaro or Margarita. I don't know how much that plays into the judge's decision. We'll get to their decision ultimately here in a minute, but I don't think I was shocked by anybody's selections. Were you?
No. I mean, like, this week I felt like it was definitely not Ayana's strongest week, but she is, like, you can tell, like, she has a ton of ideas, and she's very, very motivated and very ambitious.
Well, and I feel that she makes designs, whereas sometimes Kenya seems more like she's just making clothes.
Yeah.
And then Margarita tends to fall so often towards costume. Like this week, it was a costume to me. It was a robe on top of a cave woman costume. Last week, it was Wonder Woman. The week before that, it was Mad Max. Like a couple weeks before that, she had like the Bumba dress. But to me, it just looked like a caricature of what, you know, you assume like Latina women wear at a day. You know, so it just... So to me, I was not surprised when no one picked Margarita.
No.
I will get to my quote of the week of her response to that when they all went back to the room, but I wasn't shocked by anyone's choices. I knew Brandon and Kentaro would pick each other.
Yeah.
I think in terms of just as designers looking at other designers, I could see why they would pick Ayana over Kenya or Margarita for those who chose them. I was a little surprised by Ayana's choice to choose Kenya. I know they've kind of developed a bit of a friendship, but instead of Kentaro, because she normally in her talking heads talks about Brandon's my biggest competition, and the other person she'll mention is Kentaro. So that was the only one where I saw it was a little odd that she chose Kenya. But I don't blame her. I like Kenya. And,
yeah.
So, and Kenya did start crying when they asked her why she wanted to go to Fashion Week. And you can see how much she has sacrificed personally, to go. Obviously, some people have different life situations where they may have, but, you know, she was like, I literally had to choose between rent and fabric, which is a decision I don't know that everyone else had to make.
Yeah.
So that was interesting. I guess we'll get to the big moment.
Yeah.
So first, Kentaro, you are going on to Fashion Week, which they don't normally name a winner, but because he was asked first, I'm assuming that means he would have won this challenge, which I think I agree with.
Yeah.
And then I actually didn't write down the order. I just knew Kentaro was first. So then, Brandon, you are going to Fashion Week. And I have a quote from that moment in my quotes of the week. And then, Ayana, you are going to Fashion Week. And so it's Margarita and Kenya standing there, and you assume, we're going to have an elimination, maybe a double elimination. And they say, Margarita, you are going to Fashion Week. And Kenya's face just falls. Margarita starts kind of happy crying. Is like, thank you. I really appreciate it. Like, thank you. Because she got the Tim Gunn save last episode. So obviously kind of redemption for her. I don't feel she did, but, So she walks back in there. And everybody's like, oh, you're going. Kenya, then it cuts away. And then we just see her walk into the room. And she looks kind of sad. She sits down on the couch. She's like wiping her eye, but she's not saying anything. And all the other designers are like, And she's like, I'm going to. And then we go back to the runway and hear the judges say, you're going to go as well. So a little fake out there, but at least it wasn't like, wait till next week.
Yeah.
So it turns out all 5 of them will get to compete for the chance to go to Fashion Week, which, isn't what they've been doing this entire season. And the 5 of them now have been in 2 episodes, just the 5 of them, still just competing. They've had 2 challenges to eliminate one of these 5 people, and they just refuse.
Yeah.
So they will each get $10,000 to create a 10-piece collection, but there will only be 3 spots for Fashion Week. Obviously, they do dummy collections so that people, since they film this show ahead of time, so that people don't know necessarily who's in the top. So I think probably the top, 6 or 7 people, maybe the top 8 get to make collections. So even if you don't get to the top final 3, you still get to show at Fashion Week. They just might not show your name or whatever. But they only have 3 spots. So we're going to see these same 5 people compete again when it's but in the last 2 episodes, you've already seen Margarita and Kenya are probably the weaker links. So just cut one of them. You already cut Margarita, but she got saved. But it's just, to me, it seems like, why?
Yeah.
How do you feel? Do you like that idea that they're going to battle again?
No. I agree with everything you just said. How it's we already did this. It's the same 5. Somebody's got to go. Especially since we ultimately need to get to 1. You can't keep dragging this out.
Well, and of all the seasons, I'm sorry, but there's some talent here. I wouldn't say this is the worst season in terms of talent, but this is certainly not the best, where you have several super good people have been let go because in the olden days, they had only 3 and it was very strict. You only had 3. And then more recently, it was you could have 4, but it's only because of a Tim Gunn save or because they truly both made good things, or they'd have a head-to-head hour challenge like they were going to make the twins do to decide. And it's that's what they should have done with Kenny and Margarita or something. It just seems so unnecessary. But this whole season has been just unnecessary producer-made drama.
Yeah.
It just seems so, I don't know. I mean, I'll watch it. I'll be here.
As will I.
Yes. Same, same car, same park, we'll be here. I did want to mention we made some predictions in episode 1 based only on episode 1 of who we thought would go to the final 3. And I will start with Maggie's. So you said, because I didn't remember, I had to listen to our first podcast, which is always a joy to hear my voice grating. It sounds so different in your head, you sound so, and then you hear it, and it's God. So Maggie said Ayana, Samantha, and Kenya. So you have 2 at least who have the potential to go.
Yeah.
I said Ayana, Deontay, because if you remember, he won the first one, and then I was torn between Kenya and Kentaro, but I ultimately said Kenya. So we both said Ayana and Kenya, and we're both right so far. And I think unless she really drops the ball, Ayana will probably make it to the 3.
Yeah.
But it's funny that we both chose people who were out. Samantha in the middle, and then Deontay, I think, before her. So last season we both said Aaron, and we were both right. But I just thought that was interesting since we have our top 5 now.
Yeah.
And then we'll get to the next week, little preview, and I'll do my quotes though first. Quotes of the week. I've got quite a few. Kenya, in mood upon picking her fabric, said, "I freaking love this freaking fabric so freaking much." And all I could see was, like, basement couch. So I was just like, I don't get it. But she loved it. And most of the other designers and the judges, they responded well to it. So maybe I've just, got some, like, things I need to work out about, that kind of fabric. But. And then Tim talking to Margarita about her fake fur and how she wasn't 100% on what she was making. She, like, randomly put the fake fur up on her chest, kind of like what she ultimately made the dress to be. And she's, like, petting it, like, onto, like, her clavicle area. And he was like, you have me totally seduced. Which, knowing Tim is gay, and I don't know if Margarita is straight or whatever, but it was just an odd line to be like, you have me totally, and she's petting fur on her chest. Mm-hmm. I don't know with the edit if it was that same minute she was doing that motion, but it was just an odd, like, Tim, sometimes the things he says, I love Tim. I would love to meet him. I would love to have my work critiqued by him despite not making fashion. But occasionally in the workroom, he will say things like, I think last season or a couple seasons ago, he's like, I'm not a nipple guy. Or like this thing. And then this season, he'd be like, you have me totally seduced. And Pat's like, it looked like she had like a furry, like Robin Williams hairy chest. And I don't know, maybe that's what Tim likes. Next up, we had Kenya, who at one point was so excited to work with Jasmine, who she had not worked with yet. And she has designed for plus size folks before. She herself is plus size and makes some of her own clothes. And she said, plus girls rule. Mm-hmm. And they have not been, as the season got on, they don't talk about that they have plus size models and how new and nice it is. They did the first couple episodes and now they've kind of just, it's normal and it's awesome. But I really appreciate that they did that this season. Mm-hmm. And I can't wait to see these runway looks with a huge, since we'll have 3 of them, we'll have 30, maybe even more models of all different sizes. That'll be really cool. Mm-hmm. So a little shout out from Kenya. Then Zach, talking about Kentaro's look on the runway, said, this is the chicest snow woman I've ever seen. And I was just like, that is saying something, because occasionally they say things about, like, that it's a snow look or a Yeti or something like that. Or it's like kind of like the Tin Man or Bride of Tin Man. It's just kind of a trope that like every season at least one person's going to get that's like, oh, you made something look like Snow Woman. Mm-hmm. And I thought it was chic too. I thought that thing looked expensive. I'm not 100% sure how to define it, but I liked it. And then Margarita, after the runway, and everybody had kind of voted on what they thought, but before the judging was decided of who got to go, she comes back and she was like, no votes for Margarita. And then she said, nobody likes me. No one believes in me but me. She kept talking about it. And all of the designers are just sitting there kind of awkwardly. And Katara was like, it's our opinion. And it's like, Margarita, sometimes you seem a little fake. You act really nice, and then in your talking head, you throw people under the bus. Or you're like, oh, Christina and I could become best friends, and then you throw your model under the bus. So it's just like, I get Michael's gone now and he was like your confidant and like your closest friend, but it's just like, yeah, they didn't pick you. Get over it. You picked, not everybody either. So I don't know what you expect. Yeah. Katie, talking about Kenya's look when they were looking at the looks up close, said, I feel like it's very wearable. And maybe that's the next thing for fashion, which I liked most of the things that Katie said compared to other guest judges. And I think I get what she meant, like in high fashion, it's not always wearable. Like, look at some of the things Alexander McQueen makes or some of the other kind of tertiary designers. Like, yeah, that's not always wearable. But it's just like, it's very wearable. Maybe that's the next thing for fashion. Like, yes, I'd love wearable clothes. Wouldn't that be amazing? Just the way she said it, I was like, yes, I hope fashion is wearable and continues to be for a long time. I know she meant high fashion, but I was just like, this is why we need actual fashion designers on the show. And after 16 seasons, I would hope you could get other contestants that have been on. Like, I think last season they brought Nick back, and he does, like, little things for Project Runway sometimes, like little recaps, and he's the fashion designer from a previous season. I know they've brought Christian Siriano on, and I know he's also there for Project Runway Junior, but it's like, bring those folks back around. Or get Michael Kors back in here every once in a while. Get a Vera Wang or somebody who who people kind of know about, or it's just, I don't know. Sorry, Katie, but geez.
Yeah.
Then Kentaro, who was the first chosen to go to Fashion Week, sitting in their little like green room area, and then Brandy comes back, And Brandon's like, oh, I'm going home, like as a joke. And Kentaro just stares at him. And he's like, got his little legs crossed, and he's sitting on the couch, and he's just staring at him like, mm-hmm. And Brandon's like, no, I'm just kidding, I'm going. And Kentaro just said in this very interesting tone that's very telling for the season, he's like, I knew, you knew. And to me, it was kind of like last season, no matter what Erin did, she was in the bottom like 3 times in a row. She made some hideously ugly things. And the judges were just like, you're safe, you're safe, you're safe. Mm-hmm. And this season it's just been like Brandon, he's either been in the top or won every challenge. Yep. I think he's in the bottom like 1 time. Yeah. And it's just, and he's made crop tops and straps and hoodies and things of all of this very similar aesthetic, and they love it.
Yeah.
And some of them have made sense. We've liked a few of them, but most of them it's just been like, if you can only make Yeezy style looks, it's been done.
Yeah.
But just that tone, because Kentaro and Brandon like each other, you know, they get along, they're brothers, but just that tone, like, you knew.
Yeah.
And the edit this last couple episodes, like you said, he's very confident, and I think he's just like, yeah, I've got this in the bag. Unless he really messes up his final collection, which we have seen. Laurent's from last season could have been much stronger. Same thing with Rick, and they just kind of, we liked Roberry's, but there were a few elements to it that it's like, oh man, if you just done this one thing, maybe Erin would have won.
Yeah.
Then Kenya, because they kind of faked her out and made it seem like she was going to go home. She was crying quite a bit, and she's like, every tear is just a thankful tear. And Kenya, while her looks aren't always the most amazing or pushing it in terms of fashion, she seems very earnest, and she seems like she's put a lot into becoming where she is. I remember when they had the Real Women Challenge, her like model that time was like, you're coming to Thanksgiving. Like, she bonds with people in a really authentic kind of natural way, which I think is very different from like how the twins were or how Margarita can appear. Kenny is just so down to earth and real that it's just like, oh, I just want to hug you, just want to and I'm not a hugger. So that was very nice to be like, every tear is a thankful tear. Sometimes you cry and it's sad, sometimes you cry because you're so happy. And then Tim Gunn, hilariously enough, when he walked in, he's like, I'm so excited that all 5 of you are here. I've been like sweating bullets all day. And he's like, I'll just have to rally the stamina for 5 home visits. Which, to be fair, is like my favorite part of the finale, other than the final runway. Like, I never really care about their little challenge they make them do or things like that, or like the mini runway. I like the home visits because it's always fun to see how people live and like where they work. Like, some people have like an entire studio, some people work in their garage or like things like that. And then just seeing Tim, like last season, he went bowling with Rick, or he played with Laurent's kids, or like sometimes they go out to eat, or they go on like a picnic or something. So those are always kind of fun. And then next week, looks like we're going to see some of the home visits. And then some harsh quotes, but I'll save them for next week. I won't say them now, but there was a couple on the preview. I'm like, dang.
Yeah.
So it'll be interesting to see. I think it will be really weird if Margarita or Kenya end up making a stronger collection and make it in and take a third, like one of the spots, because Kentaro has not been as strong as he was early in the season. I liked his piece this time, but the last couple episodes, I think his pieces we haven't loved as much. So it's hard to say. And like they even warned him, like, you know, make a full collection, but subtlety does not make it on the runway always. So it'll be interesting to see how some of those kind of subtle, you know, or like an entire collection of modest looks from Ayana, will it feel as you keep watching it? Or even Brandon's, when you see all 10 walk by you at the same time, will you be like, yes, this is very one note, or will you be like, it's so cohesive? So it'll be interesting.
Yeah.
It'll be interesting to see. I don't think we need to guess the 3. I think we already guessed in episode 1, and we'll just see what we get next week. But otherwise, do you have any closing statements?
I don't think so. I mean, I wonder how many episodes. You think there's 2 left or 3?
I'm assuming 2. 1 for the home visits, and then they come back and have like a scramble, and then next week, or then one last one.
Okay.
But because they are going to do the mini 3 challenge, they might have 3 episodes, but then we'll run into Thanksgiving. But either way, this season will be shorter than last season, because last season I remember it went into Christmas and we had to film after the New Year. So this time I'm assuming it'll be done by then. But I'm guessing 2 or 3, but I hope only 2.
Yeah.
But they might be longer with the home visits, or they're going to cut the home visits quicker. It'll depend. if they'll show their full 10 collection or if they'll just do the little mini collection of 3 pieces and that's who gets the 3 spots. Because obviously they all get to show at Fashion Week anyway, so. But the 3 will be chosen to win, so. It'll be interesting, I'm not sure. But anyway, you can find us on Instagram and Twitter at Rav Runway. We're also on Podiant and WordPress, Runway from the Rav. And we are also on iTunes and Apple Podcasts. And so you can take us on the go. And if you could rate or review us on there, that'd be awesome. Because obviously we're the best Project Runway recap podcast out there. But without rates and reviews, it's hard to show up in search things. But otherwise, we appreciate you guys listening. And we'll see you next week.